all know about Jackie Robinson, Rookie of the Year, All-Star, and World Series champion. He's who we think of when baseball's color barrier is mentioned. But what about the man who made this all possible and signed Robinson in the first place? This is a story of how Branch Rickey took a stand in history and changed the world forever. Racism in the 1900s was an ongoing problem. At this point, there were segregated bathrooms, water fountains, and of course, segregated baseball. In 1920, this led to the creation of the Negro Leagues, a baseball league for black players that at its peak consisted of 24 teams. In this league were some of the best ball players baseball's ever seen. Satchel Paige, Cool Papa Bell, and Josh Gibson were among the many greats who never made it to the majors in their primes, if at all. Black players had been in white baseball before, but hadn't been seen since the 1880s. It was somewhat a second chance for blacks to play in the majors. When Branch Rickey was brought into the Dodgers organization in 1943, he had already made a significant contribution towards baseball. After being a failed outfielder, he was the general manager of the St. Louis Browns when he made the minor league farm system that's still in use today. Something he was never allowed to do was bring players of color to play for the Browns. Rickey was known to be a very kind-hearted man. He was an awesome figure, but was also very approachable for any given reason, and was mostly friendly with his ball club. This perhaps was why he decided to pursue his vision of integrated baseball, because as a boy, he was taught that everybody was created equal, no matter what color they are. He was taught this by his mother, who was very religious, to the extent that Rickey was not allowed to play or coach on Sundays. Because of this practice, Rickey believed blacks should be allowed to play Major League Baseball. One of the big factors in him not being able to was the commissioner of baseball, Kennesaw Landis, who was known to be very racist. Rickey was livid. When Landis died in 1944, Rickey was the general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers and immediately went to the new commissioner, Happy Chandler, to discuss this issue. Chandler was all for it, and Rickey went to work trying to find the perfect fit. This man would have to be a good player, but an even better person, and also be able to resist fighting those who taunted him. Rickey eventually found this man playing in Kansas City for the Negro League Kansas City Monarchs. Shortstop Jackie Roosevelt Robinson was interviewed by Rickey, and when asked by Robinson if he was looking for a player who was scared to fight back, he replied with his famous quote, "Robinson, I'm looking for a ball player with guts enough not to fight back." Robinson was formally signed on October 23, 1945, and was immediately signed to the minor league Montreal Royals. Robinson impressed right off the bat in Montreal, collecting 4 hits in his very first game. Jackie finished the season batting .348 with the Royals and was expected to be called up to the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947. This season did not come with setbacks, however. Robinson was repeatedly greeted with endless racial slurs, even at home games, and Rickey was criticized many times for letting a black man play. Many death threats were made. Despite this, Rickey insisted that Robinson push through and complete the season. Robinson did as told, and Rickey's idea was coming into fruition. For Rickey, it was a long wait until April came. Over the winter, he still endured the many threats that came with signing a black man to play what was known at this time as a white man's game. He and Commissioner Chandler agreed that it was still the best decision the game would ever see. April eventually did come, but Robinson was still in Montreal and in a Royals uniform. Rickey decided to wait a few more days, but on April 14, 1947, Rickey called Robinson to inform him that he was going to make his Major League debut the following day. In front of a crowd of 26,623 people, Jackie made the drive down, and on April 15th, he made his debut as the Brooklyn Dodgers starting first baseman. He went 0 for 3, but nobody at Ebbets Field cared. Branch Rickey had made history by allowing Jackie Robinson, a black man and grandson of a slave, to appear in a Major League Baseball game. The 1947 season was undoubtedly the toughest year of Robinson and Rickey's lives. During the times when the Dodgers were on the road, Robinson was forced to stay in black inns, while the rest of the Dodger team stayed in 5-star hotels. That was only the beginning, because Robinson was criticized not only by his own fans, but by his own teammates as well. Rickey convinced him that it would get better, and it did, starting with shortstop and double play partner Pee Wee Reese. Reese was known for being Robinson's best friend on the team and came to his defense many times over the years. In one of the most well-known quotes of the 1940s, Reese once came to Robinson's defense with his famous line, "You can hate a man for many reasons. Color is not one of them." In 1948, Reese put his arm around Robinson in response to fans who shouted racial slurs at Robinson before a game in Cincinnati. Their friendship continued until Robinson's death in 1972. Reese garnered full support from Rickey, who appreciated one of his players coming to accept Jackie. This trend did not spread across the Dodger clubhouse, however, as many players refused to take the field with Robinson, and opponents often threatened to forfeit their games if he was in the starting lineup. Rickey and Commissioner Chandler stood their ground, as Rickey told the team that anybody who refused to play would be suspended. Chandler further supported Rickey, as he imposed a new rule that would permanently ban any players that chose to forego their playing time because Robinson was playing. This worked, as there were no banishments at all during his time as baseball's commissioner. Robinson went on to have a successful career, playing 10 years in the Dodger uniform. He was Rookie of the Year in 1947, which was renamed the Jockey Robinson Rookie of the Year Award. He was also MVP of the National League in 1949, led the NL in stolen bases twice, and most significantly, his jersey number 42 is now retired by every team in the majors and minor leagues. Jackie Robinson Day is April 15th of every year and is celebrated across baseball with every player wearing his number 42. All of this was possible because Branch Rickey decided to be different, take a chance, and take a stand while risking his job in the process. If he hadn't done this, it's very possible that baseball still wouldn't be integrated to this day. When Jackie Robinson retired from baseball in 1956, Branch Rickey was nowhere to be seen in the Dodgers organization. He had lost almost all his general management power when the power was split into four. He was no longer making money for sales, and in 1950 he declined a contract to become president of the Dodgers. Less than a year later, he sold a stake in the Brooklyn Ball Club for $1,050,000. Shortly after Rickey left the Brooklyn Dodgers organization, the Dodgers packed their bags and relocated to Los Angeles, which they still call home to this day. Later in 1950, Rickey was offered another job, again as a general manager. He immediately signed, and that same day, he became the general manager of the struggling Pittsburgh Pirates. In Pittsburgh, Rickey brought another major change in baseball, opening the door for Latino players to play in the major leagues. In one of the lesser-known moves of the 1950s, Rickey signed one of the greatest players to ever play baseball, and he had an even more successful career than Robinson. During the Rule 5 draft in November 1954, Rickey, representing the Pirates, selected Roberto Clemente first overall, and he signed for a mere $4,000. Clemente was born in Puerto Rico, and when he made his Major League debut in 1955, he became the first Latin American player since Lou Castro in 1902 to play in the majors. Just like Robinson, Clemente would go on to have a Hall of Fame career, finishing his career with exactly 3,000 hits, 240 home runs, and even had 2 World Series rings to go along with him. Clemente sadly died during the 1972 offseason in a plane crash while delivering relief supplies to Nicaragua after an earthquake struck. He, just like Rickey, is fondly remembered for his kindness and always going the extra mile to help others. In 1967, Branch Rickey was elected to baseball's Hall of Fame for his work in integrating the sport. Before Rickey's death in 1965, Martin Luther King Jr. personally wrote Rickey and said that by having Robinson play, his famous "I Have a Dream" speech was a whole lot easier for him. Without Rickey or someone like him, it's possible that baseball would still be segregated in the 80s, 90s, or possibly even now. So whenever you see flashy plays by Alcides Escobar, Joe Carter, Curtis Granderson, or Asdrubal Cabrera. Just remember, that's all because of Wesley Branch Rickey.